Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 220. The episode today is the completion of my panel interview with the class of 2010. Over the course of these last 3 weekends of January, you're going to get the completion of each of the three panel discussions that I've been moving through slowly but surely. Class of 2010, the rise and fall of the Shakespeare project, and then finally the shop assistant call. And as we finish out these calls and move into February, I've decided to turn this web series into a monthly broadcast with more diverse discussions, multiple topics, and kind of make it more like a concise interview show. And the one thing that I can tell you is that I have secured an interview with Joy Vandervoort Cobb for our February show. And so she will be joining me on a one-on-one, and I'm going to put together a few other things. If you want to hang out and talk and be a part of it, shoot me an email. It's all right.
There was a time when GP would come over and we would grill burgers because we had a grill, but we'd grill after dark, and I like vividly remember him not being able to figure out if the burgers were done. But I don't remember if he was a double major or if he was a theater minor.
I think he was a double major.
He was definitely
for some reason. That just sounds like GP.
Yeah, he was always an overachiever.
Yeah, he was sweet. He and I were in children's hour. We both had very small parts freshman year in children's hour, and that
came in, and he was sassy to a lesbian and ate an apple and then left. That was like the part.
Yeah, he was like a paper boy.
Yes,
so like
paper boy.
Sassy to a lesbian and ate an apple.
I loved those little tiny parts that were just like, why is this even in here? We did Measure for Measure. There's a character named Various, who literally, like, he must have been like a friend of Shakespeare's, or like Shakespeare owed him money or something, and was like, I'll give you this part. And so like he literally just walks on stage, and the Duke, who was played by Evan, and Sam McCullough played this part. Sam had another part, but they were like, we're just gonna have you be Various too. And he just goes like, oh, my gentle Various, and then they walk off stage together. Like, he just walks on and goes, Various, and then like Various doesn't show up again. and Sam would always like,
it was Shakespeare's cameo.
Up. We would like massage his shoulders, be like, all right, you got this, dude, you got this. And then like Sam would just walk out and just be like, and then just walk off, and that was the whole thing. And that was it. It was my favorite thing in the entire show. The Shakespeare Project was that a thing in your time?
So I was in the first Shakespeare Project show. And actually, I was about to bring up that Wednesday is when I'm doing the Shakespeare Project talk. But what I was going to say is that when we did Romeo and Juliet, which was the first one, Evan did his own, I guess, cutting. And there's a part that is almost always cut out, which is Pot Pan, the cook, which was my role. It has like 2 lines. And I was a bit of a jackass, so I think Evan took great pleasure in making me wear a pot on my head, and he gave me this whole backstory that I had I was shell-shocked in the war, and I'm like a military cook that's been hired by the Capulets, and just it was this ridiculous backstory that he's like, I want you to focus on this. So like whenever I was on stage, I'd like salute people. But if a woman walked by, I take the handle of the pot and I push down on it so it would pop up a little bit, as if I'm tipping my hat. It was a ridiculous role.
Evan was always really great about letting us take like backstories of like small characters in like the Shakespeare projects and stuff, and letting us just run wild with them. So this was Comedy of Errors, and it was set in like 1930s Hollywood. So we were all like silent film 30s Hollywood like archetypes, and I also, Hayden and I, when we did Arabian Nights, we came up with
Scrappy pockets.
all kinds of bizarre backstories. There was a scene where like they were different sages, and it was like the sages of wisdom and blah blah blah. And so we decided like what they were sages of, and it was always just something really obscure and absurdist, like the sage of comically large shovels and just things like that. And when you have those little parts, you got to find a way to kind of make it fun for yourself.
With Evan, we did Imaginary Invalid.
Yeah.
And if you guys are aware of that show, it's basically one big fart joke the whole way through. God bless Moliere. And so I was like one of the two doctors that administered enemas all the time. And so John Weeks and I had this really great business that we had put together. But what Evan did is he cast 5 extra people to play like various servants and whatnot. And no lines, no character name. But the big winner was my roommate, Phil. 0 lines. Somehow became the like manservant of the lead character, which Evan had decided that he needed this place to poop. And it was this giant box that he would get into with his hands out the side and his head over the top. And it was on wheels. So while he did scenes, Phil, as this dopey mute servant, would just push him around to like and turn him to like interact with people, and stole many a scene without having a single line. And he named his character Frappe, which no one knew except for us.
Speaking of Moliere and stealing the show, we did Tartuffe, and we had live dogs, and Elizabeth Bays made headshots for her Pomeranians and slipped them under Evan's office door so that they could get roles, and they always just, the audience was just focused completely on the dogs.
Rest in peace.
I was not completely focused on the dogs, because the show that like me and Gedritis and Michael attended,
I think I know what you're about to. Will's wardrobe malfunction.
When Will's pants fell down, and so he was having to hold them up for like 10 minutes of a scene. And y'all, it just made everything funnier, because we couldn't even quite tell if that was an accident or if it was supposed to happen.
It was the most like perfect wardrobe malfunction, because it's Tartuffe, and he's like literally chasing a girl around the table while his pants are falling down. I know that some people in the audience were like, how'd they make that happen? How'd they make the pants fall? And yeah, that was...
I remember me, Michael, and Matt going, we were like, I'm not sure if that was supposed to happen, but it made it better. If it wasn't supposed to
I was on wardrobe for that show, so I don't even know why it happened, or what, if his suspenders broke or something, the elastic broke. I don't remember.
It was great. Yeah.
There are very few things that Evan ever, whenever I had a crazy idea, that Evan ever let me do, except for Imaginary Invalid, because there's a dream sequence in it, and he wanted the doctors to have a sword fight with golden plungers. So we had that, but also I was like, his backstory for me was this very jaundice, like almost dying doctor. So they shaved my head, and it was a dress rehearsal. And I remember being in the shop, just chit chat with Evan, and I have the plunger, and I'm like, and I just stuck the plunger to my head and let go, and he dies laughing. And then he's like, good luck getting it off. And then like I popped it off, and he's like, get John, you need to reblock the sword fight. So we made that the death blow in it. And there's a picture of it somewhere, and it's just flipping hilarious. People wet themselves. So Liz, we never got your story.
I had a crush on a football player who did theater at my high school, who was 2 years above me, and he went to CFC. But he was very cute, and we were in Greece together in high school. And I was like, this boy is dreaming. He goes to CFC, and he took me to Groucho's when I came to campus to visit. I asked mom if I could go alone to like have some catch up time with him, and like it was pretty serious. So John Paul, I think around your year where there were like there are a couple of like Pius grads. I went to St. Pius High School in Atlanta.
Yeah.
And so, and I met one at the Couches Memorial Zoom, and then I only know Mandy by name through Davey. And so
I forgot Mandy was one too. Yeah.
Oh yeah, so maybe there's a third that I don't know about. But so Bonnie was obsessed with CFC because she had come to see a show at some point in the early 2000s that Alan directed, and decided that Alan Lindrup and she were best friends, and she so anyone who wanted to pursue theater, she was just like, you should go to College of Charleston. Alan Lindrup and I are very close, and so CFC was on my radar because of the history department, and because she had randomly said that theater was was good there. I wanted to get out of Georgia, and I applied to a lot of schools that all are very different. It was very clear that I had no idea what I wanted in a college experience. I was really close to going to University of Colorado Boulder, like had a housing assignment, like was ready to go. And I've wanted to live in Colorado for a very long time. And now I finally am, but I was very close to going to UC Boulder, and I don't remember exactly what made me change my mind, but I was like, John goes to CFC and like we could fall in love still. So I was pretty set on knowing what I wanted to study and how I wanted to do it. And then I just started getting super involved in center stage, and I loved center stage. I did main stage shows every year, like I guess whenever they would cast me, which was luckily I think every year. But the center stage show, I love being involved in center stage. I loved being able to like feel really proud of doing something all together. I felt very adult participating in center stage. But yeah, that's how I got to CFC, was a crush on a boy, which is hilarious now.
So
Were you an every man of mankind?
So, well, I mean, that's my story of how I even took my first. So I was a computer geek. Like, I had my own like old school computer in my room in middle school that I would take apart and put back together and connect to other computers via modem, and was going down that track until second semester my senior year. Second semester my freshman year of high school. And a girl that I liked had been in a show, and so I took intro to theater and had like the worst stage fright and couldn't memorize anything. And they were doing Friday morning improv, so if you got to school early every Friday, you could do improv. And for some reason, that experience with the stage fright, it was finally like, well, this is an interesting challenge, because like computers had always been been very intuitive to me, and I was kind of not excited about the idea of going and spending 4 years studying something that was intuitive. I wanted more challenges, and then my whole life derailed after that semester and doing improv for a year. And then I just started doing community theater all over the place before then going to CFC. But you mentioned Pius. You went to St. Pius?
Yeah.
Okay. So my roommate, Matt Kennedy, was probably the one that you met at.
Yes. And was Matt Kennedy the one that I met? Probably yes. Also, it's crazy because I'm really good friends with a grad from 1996 from Pius. And so she is always like, oh, well, I know these people that all went to CFC, and it's like very strange how this like decade between our classes coincided. Or I guess she was class of 95. But yeah, it must have been Matt Kennedy. And I also very much remember Bonnie talking about him. I'm sure that's who she went to go see the show.
Every tech class, I'm like, this is the one. I'm gonna be good at this one. This is the one that is my second like talent in the theater world. I'm gonna be a good costume. No, bad at all.
And the people who actually are good at the tech stuff, I'm like, this is great for you guys, y'all.
Yeah, y'all are employed probably.
I can't remember.
Most of them are,
I can't
yeah.
remember exactly who is in my. I can't remember everyone who is in my costuming class, but
Yeah.
Christelle and George Caruth and I had it together, and we always sat near each other. It was a lot of freshmen, and we were not. George, for our garment, I made a dress, which I still have, and is still not finished. I still need to put an eye over the zipper. And so, Ellen, if you're watching this, if we could find a time for us.
I never put an eye over the zipper for my final garment either.
And also, Janine, I'm sorry I never finished it. But I got really close. So George made a plaid button-down shirt, which was very cute and like very George. And this was our junior year, and George accidentally sewed the buttons on inside the garment instead of he sewed them on the wrong side. But being George and not being super type A and like being very laid back was like, no, I meant to do this probably. And so George put his buttons on inside out, and then for the principal of the thing, decided that it became one of his favorite shirts, and he wore it all the time. And I loved him for it because he just had these buttons were not on the right part of the shirt.
Oh, well, like I was kind of lucky because like I had gotten into cosplay before I started doing theater. So like I walked in there already knowing how to sew a bunch of stuff. So my final thing was just a cosplay prop that I was working on anyway. But it was so fun because I had Alex Hoffman in the class with me, and I remember he made it to 3 classes before Janine just told him straight up, like, you can't pass. You haven't come to any classes. He just took it in such stride. I was so proud of him.
Oh,
Alex, you definitely helped me with my final costuming project. Thank you for that. I was a lost performance major and was just like, I could barely sew anything. Like I couldn't even like, which way does the thing go? And I just couldn't do it, and I wanted to. And yeah, you helped me through that one, so thank you for that. I was the only boy in my makeup class, and so I was always the example of what not to do. Because I was with a bunch of females who had been wearing makeup for a long time, and she would just go like, okay, let's everyone take a break. All right, so let's look at Andrew for a second. And then it would just be like, and I was okay with it because I knew I was not good. I was like, I get it. I don't know what I'm doing.
I ended up using my gore makeup skills as like a job not later in life, like shortly thereafter. My mom, when I was out of college and I would come home on the holidays, my mom ran a standardized patient program at Emory Medical School.
Michael did that before.
Yeah, he did it at MUSC, right?
No, he did it at Emory.
He
was in Atlanta for a year.
Yes, I know that's true because my mom obviously hired him and worked with him. Wow, I forgot. And there's a couple.
That is true.
There are a couple. There are a couple of friends of mine from high school and college that have like gone and done work with my mom, and my mom was like, "I love hiring all these actors. Like, I love doing the work." And I was like, "Mom, please stop." But there's some. So when I went home for the holidays, there were age groups like ours in our early 20s that like were really underrepresented in these programs because we were all off at college or in med school or things like that. And so there were some cases that needed like gore done. And my mom was like, could you do some bruising on your abdomen? And I was like, what kind of case am I about to? So I'd come home from the holidays and it was like, so I could make a couple of extra bucks like while I was home. And so I used gore makeup to teach students at Emory Medical School how to identify like various things, and it was mostly like hidden bruises to indicate domestic violence was going on, and that's actually what was happening rather than whatever the patient came in for. But my mom was like, "Look at you putting your degree to work," and I was like, "Okay, Connie, we can just shush with your sass right now. Thank you very much." But yeah, I liked that makeup class. I thought that I felt like I learned a lot in that makeup class. And I felt also that I actually, like, I definitely improved. You could see an improvement.
I had my glasses off the entire time, so I could never see during the class. So the entire time it was like, what am I doing?
Amazing. I love that.
Well, I'm sorry, guys. I gotta go.
Yeah, I need a jet too, actually.
Yeah.
This was delightful.
This was really fun. I'm glad we got to chat. I haven't talked to a lot of you guys in quite a long time, so this is a lot of fun.
This has been a nice balm to the anxiety that is churning in my stomach. What's going to happen in the next 48 to 72 hours?
My wife and I have been texting about this for like the last 25 minutes.
Yeah, I forgot about.
Yeah, the world's on fire.
Could or could not happen. So,
listen, we just remember the good times. Fall of 2008, when most of us were voting for the time, and just think those thoughts.
Liz and I saw Barry O in person.
We did. Yeah, we went to the Cistern Yard and saw him speak, and we were like, that guy is going to be president. And then he was, and then now the world is scary.
Delete all your apps. Delete all your apps off your phone. Delete all your apps off your phone until at least Wednesday morning. No doom scrolling.
I mean, I can't promise that. I have too much anxiety to not stare.
But it was good. John Paul, thanks for helping get the ball rolling and getting this all organized and stuff. And Hibbs and Jillian, it was really good to see you guys and talk to you.
It's good to see you guys too.
Well, thank you guys for letting me be the creepy old man that just kind of leered and listens to stories.
No, it was awesome. I feel like we just barely scratched the surface too. Like so many, now 4 years kind of go by on a personal scale, not politically, and it's just kind of it goes by and it's just it's not, it's like, oh, what happened in the last 4 years? Whereas there was so much crammed in a 4-year college space. I am completely different. Was a completely different person by the time I graduated. I'm a completely different person 3 or 4 times over since graduating. Went through a lot, had a lot of growing up to do, and good times, rough times, confusing times, definitely a major turning point in my life. So it was fun to kind of go back and talk about it and just kind of have some good memories about it.